Welcome, fans, to episode 106 of Rangers Ed, presented by Lucarelli Law. If you're in Florida and need a lawyer, call Lucarelli Law and tell them the boys at Rangers Ed sent you. This is your host, Cousin Ed, with my co-host, Little Ed. What's up, bud? Tattoo looking great.
Yeah, man. It's finally starting to heal up. Well, it's really itchy, so it's very scaly right now, but very excited about it. Other than that, big week for the boys. We got a big interview.
Did you pick up your Mad Rabbit lotion?
I absolutely did. I had the revival. I had the revival one first. Revive, I guess it's called. That's the one that you put on immediately after the tattoo. So that felt really good. It didn't really hurt the entire time while I was wrapped. So shout out to Mad Rabbit. Promo code EDPOD for that one. So
it's a great deal. 20% off. I went on and got some for mine, and I put it on. I just got it a few hours ago. I just put it on, and it already feels like cool. Like it gave like a cooling sensation to it, so it doesn't feel so itchy and like moisture. But anyway, Coach Ed's over there, no headphones. What's up, Coach?
Going off, fellas. Dominic's got an additional business to his law firm business. I was down there. I saw him. He also has a golf club storage business because that's what my golf clubs are right now.
Oh, my God.
So how was your trip? It was good?
Everything was really good, yeah. Had a lot of fun. Played some golf, got some sun, watched the pros play. It was nice. Saw Dirk Bentley.
Coach Ed hung out with our sponsor, Dom Lucarelli, over the weekend down in Florida. That's a nice trip.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, Dom's a great guy. So your golf clubs, there should be like a kid's book about your golf clubs. The traveling golf clubs of Coach Ed, and like the golf clubs are the main character of the book, and they just go to like different homes. Like that would be pretty funny.
You got to throw an air tag in those things so we know where they are at all times.
Yeah, I might have to do that.
We might have to get Tennessee Meg on the scoop on that with the illustrations. Coach Ed's the traveling golf clubs of Coach Ed.
That's hilarious.
There's a story I can't tell on air about the golf clubs, but we'll leave that for another time.
I feel like so people aren't worried. Mikey Produces is still part of the show. He hasn't been here for I guess the last interview and this episode. Just going through a move right now with the PA. They're moving down to Florida, so they're a little busy. So I'm going to be filling in as the producer. So if I screw anything up, I'm sorry.
Well, you got to look things up too.
I guess I could look things up too.
Well, it's a good time for you because no one's going to care.
I think Mikey's just stressed that I spanked him in the fantasy league this week.
Oh boy!
Moved up a few notches.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, I passed my boy Corso.
Yeah, I keep winning every week or tying, and I don't move anywhere. So I've been 6 for like 4 weeks in a row.
Yeah, you got to
right in the middle of the pack.
I don't even know how it works.
One big week.
I don't even know how it works. So
that's a lie.
Yeah,
it's not that complicated.
No, I don't know how the
I don't know how it works.
I guess
a win is 2 points. A tie is 1 point. What's that?
I'm winning every week, but only by like 2 or 3 goals. So it's like I'm not really advancing.
No, so if you win goals, you get a win. That's 1 win. That's 2 points. If you win assists, you get a win for that category. That's 2 points. If you win penalty minutes, that's 2 points. So every category you win is a win that gives you 2 points in the standings. So you have to win the category for the week. So if it says 7-7 final, that means you won 7 categories and you lost 7 categories. You get 14 points. Anyway, it's not that complicated. It's just like the NHL, okay? But anyway, I was saying, Little Ed, your producer errors, no one's going to care because you brought on Jackie Redmon for an interview, which is dropping today. So for those of you that like NHL Network or you're a wrestling fan, you're very familiar with Jackie Redmon. So whatever you do, you got Jackie Redmon on the show. You're good. Don't worry.
I'm good for a while.
You got something in your back pocket for a long time.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, Jackie was very generous. Jackie was very generous with her time. I've been going back and forth with her for a little while on Instagram and stuff. And can't believe she finally came through, and it was a nice surprise for all of us, and it was a good time. So definitely stay tuned for that episode, for that interview later on in this episode.
All right, that's the first mistake. You get 3.
-1 out of the box. So yeah, another big interview. I mean, it feels great. I made some clips for the Tollison interview, and now I listened to that again. So it's just, we're on a roll here, fellas. We got to keep it going.
Yeah, we got more interviews coming. We got an interview set up for next week, and another one probably after the new year. So excited. We're doing our thing, and it's just fun to be with you guys and talk hockey. But it's even better when we get to bring the fans some cool interviews to spice up the episode a little bit. But you guys are gonna love Jackie, and she was really, like Eddie said, really gracious, and in the middle of like a family party or whatever, she took some time to meet with us, and it was really good. So look out for that later in this episode. All right, let's jump into the jersey profiles, sponsored by Oscar's Pro Stitch Hockey.
Our buddy Oscar, a huge Rangers fan himself, started his company by stitching his own blue shirts. Once he perfected his craft and started to fall in love with his work, the man started to grow. Oscar stitches every jersey with love and dedication to authenticity, which never disappoints. His talent is hard to find in any store out there. Are you like Cousin Ed? You have a lingering jersey curse that every player he gets a jersey of gets traded or injured and hurts the Rangers team? You want to change things up? You want to take an Eric Lindros jersey and make it a vintage Ken Hodge jersey in the late 70s? Got an old jersey collecting dust in your closet? Want to throw your name on the back and add a nice number of one of your favorite players? You can bring it back to life with a brand new kit at Oscar's Pro Stitch. So head on over to Oscar's Instagram at Oscars PSH. That's OSCARS PSH to check out the countless tarps he's already done and to place the order for his next one that possibly can post on Instagram, and get ready to wear it to the next Ranger game or any event that you have coming up. Tell them the boys from Rangers Ed sent you and receive a special discount at Oscar's Pro Stitch Hockey. Go get them, Rangers.
We either got to re-record that or charge Oscar a little extra.
Yeah, I got to shorten. We got to redo that one. Oscar's probably eating it up. Oscar's probably eating it up after those the debut of the third jerseys.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. So, all right, number 6, episode 106. Not that many guys to pick from. So Doug Lidster from the '94 Stanley Cup team makes the cut here. 4 seasons with the Rangers. He played 177 games. He played almost 900 games in his career. Only 177 of those with the Rangers, but he was part of that '94 Stanley Cup team. Coach, I noticed Lidster played only 34 regular season games that year and 9 playoff games. So he was kind of like the 7th D, 8th D, or
I don't really remember the regular season, following it that much, but I know he was definitely in all the finals games against Vancouver. And I know he was kind of, I don't want to say he was a big part of it, but he was he was a key defenseman out there. He wasn't limited to time for sure. It was, we always called him the Jerry Seinfeld lookalike.
They had the injury. They had some injuries on D. That's probably why. But just real quick on Lidster, interesting little story. When I was doing the profile, I came across this, and it reminded me. So I did a little digging. So Lidster in '93, before the expansion draft that brought the Panthers into the league, was traded by the Canucks to the Rangers. But he was a future consideration. So the way the Rangers acquired him was they traded Van Beesbrook to Vancouver for future considerations ahead of the expansion draft. This way they could protect Richter, and they got something for Beezer. Vancouver then exposed Van Beesbrook and kept Kirk McLean, who the Rangers played in the finals. Beezer got picked by the Panthers. The Rangers' future considerations was Doug Lidster. So that's how they got Doug Lidster. And then they ended up playing the Canucks, Richter against Kirk McLean in the Stanley Cup Finals, both chosen over Van Beesbrook by the 2 teams that had him. Thought that was interesting. So then right after they win the Cup, they traded Lidster as part of a deal to St. Louis for Peter Nedved, and then 1 year later reacquired him, and he played 3 more seasons with the Rangers. Really interesting. Coach, they traded Jay Wells for him. You remember Jay Wells?
Yep.
I just remember him holding the cup, and he had like no teeth in the middle. That's all I remember about Jay Wells.
But what would be the advantage of the Rangers of Vancouver getting Van Beesbrook if they plan on not protecting him?
So the rules at the time, from what I saw, was every team had to expose a goaltender, and Vancouver didn't have a goaltender that they wanted to expose. So they just said, all right, let's just get Van Beesbrook and expose him. If he's taken, he's taken. And then they won't take anybody else off our team because only a limited amount of guys can be taken from each team. So just by getting Van Beesbrook, they lost Lidster, right, from their team. It's pretty much like the equivalent of if Florida took Lidster instead of some other player on the Canucks. So there's a little bit of maneuvering before the draft. Much different expansion draft than we've seen with Vegas and Seattle. But yeah, I could talk all day about what I was reading about the Lightning and all that stuff. It was kind of bananas. But Lidster won the cup. So this is our default. If there's no guy who stands out in the jersey profile as like an excellent Ranger, we picked the 94 Cup guy as the choice.
Well, it didn't give me much of an opportunity to be an artist. I mean, I'll throw it up again here. Only 2 things. My Girardi one was filled. My all of them were pretty full. Greshner had a nice lineup, so I don't know. Maybe when we have something like this, we can include 2 people just so I can include some more stuff on the graphic.
I mean,
that's all right.
Being on the Stanley Cup's pretty big. So
it's huge, but the graphic just doesn't look great. And then I couldn't really find a great picture of him either, so it was tough. But I got it done.
All right. Well, tough times over here. So prior to the last episode, the Rangers were 18-4-1. Since then, 1-2-0. They're currently 19-6-1, 39 points, first in the Metro, second in the NHL to Vegas, who's 3 points up on the Rangers, but the Rangers have 3 games in hand. They started out at Ottawa, a loss, 6-2. Igor Shesterkin with the loss in that one, and then a 4-0 loss at Washington. Shesterkin with the loss there. They come back home, play LA. Jonathan Quick, his first game ever against the Los Angeles Kings, the team that he played most of his career with. A 4-1 victory. Quick made 25 saves on 26 shots. Almost had the shutout. But LA, I guess, wasn't going to let that happen. So let's start with Jonathan Quick versus the LA Kings. We're going to get into the bad from the Ottawa and Washington game too, but let's start with the positive. Quick and the Kings. I thought the Rangers really had a nice rebound game against a really good team. Watching that Capitals game on Saturday, I was thinking they were going to get steamrolled in this game if they didn't put forth a better effort. But Little Ed keeps saying it, this team bounces back and recovers, and they did it. I thought they played a solid, hard-fought game, especially defensively, Little Ed. So I don't know what your thoughts are on the team's rebound effort against the Kings.
No, without a doubt, they looked like a much different team. I said it. A few people were texting me, like asking if I was worried about them, if it was going to be worth watching last night or whatever. They always come back. They always play well against good teams, no matter what the situation is. Boston, LA, Carolina, Tampa. No matter how much of a losing streak they're on, they always come out to play against these teams, and they always show, and they never show up against the bad teams. We talk about it all the time. I mean, like, you can almost guarantee a loss against Ottawa. We were joking around before they were playing San Jose. You were like, they're going to lose tonight, aren't they? And I was like, I don't think they're going to lose, but it's not going to be an easy game. And it ended up being 6-5 win, right? Or 6-5, I think, or 6-4 or something.
6-5.
So it's never an easy win against the bottom of the barrel teams, and it's always a good game against the top of the barrel teams. So I'm not surprised they bounced back, and they look great again. And hopefully they can keep this rolling. And they have to learn how to play. It's the hardest thing in hockey, learning how to play the same way every game, no matter who your opponent is. You're always going to try and get away with something a little extra, which I'm sure Coach is going to touch on or has touched on in the past. You're always trying to pad the points a little bit, pad the stats a little bit, and you always get caught making the mistakes. Coach, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I did get a chance to watch the game on the airplane actually this morning on the recast, and I thought they looked really good. I thought, like I talk about all the time with you guys, is that back pressure. They were constantly skating up and down the ice, and I feel like LA's a good team, but they're not a speed team like Ottawa and like what's the other game they got beat up bad? We saw Buffalo, was it?
Buffalo, yes. We watched it, or we were there for.
We were there. They're not like a speed team like that. We're all the top 9 forwards are all over the ice. LA, they got away with a little bit more, I think, of their game, and it was, I don't want to say it was easier, but it was more to their system they're playing now. And it seems like the Ottawa game to me was very similar to the Buffalo game. It seemed like they weren't able to make a pass. They weren't able to catch a pass. Every time they touched the puck, a Senator was on them. And of course, you know, Tarasenko lit it up, and somebody else was an ex-Ranger lit it up. Wasn't who else was lighting it up against them that game?
Drew had X points, I think.
Ex-Ranger? I don't think so. I think Tarasenko. God, we should have bet on Tarasenko.
Freaking Brady Tkachuk. Does that guy ever come off the ice?
No.
It seems like I'm watching that game, and he's constantly on the ice, and he's constantly in the scoring position. I mean, I hate to agree with Sam, but he can do it all. The guy's on the ice constantly.
Yeah.
Coach, how important was it for the Rangers, before we get into quick and some of your comments, how important was it for the Rangers to score first? The first period was kind of a chess match, battle of 1-3-1s. There was really not a lot of offensive chances. Rangers break through at the first goal, and they had given up the first goal in the last 4 games. Valaquette hammered that in. They got to get the first goal. For the mentality of the team and the rest of the game and how the game played out, do you think if the Kings score first, maybe it's a different game, different result, I guess?
It's definitely possible, because especially they were playing at home, 2 losses in a row, bad losses. You know, it's going to put a lot of guys mentally down on the team and themselves, you know, like the pressure of the crowd, of the media. I mean, come on, think about it. All Struber is not always thinking about is, oh, shit, I got to answer these questions again. So their motivation to come out hot and get that first goal really pumps them up and means a lot. If they let up that first goal, then they're on their heels and they got to come back like we talked about last time. So I think it's very important as a momentum and a mental part of the game as a team.
Yeah,
I think the veterans can handle it a little better, but the younger guys, you know, they're like, here we go again, you know.
Yeah, I think it could just have like a snowball effect. Getting the first goal, you know, calm them down maybe, and just, I don't know. I mean, it was a battle of 1-3-1s in the first period for sure.
And again, I think we talked about it last week when I was talking about me and Eddie with our team. It's like when you get in a position where you're on your heels, everybody tries to do too much, and it takes you out of your game plan, and then that opens up more spots for the other team. So, I mean, again, we talk about it all the time. These are NHL players, but they're, no matter what age you are, they're all making the same kind of mistakes, only on a much higher and faster scale, because it's human nature. And to me, that's what it helps a lot when they get that first goal. Now guys aren't trying to do too much. They're seeing that they could just play their game and succeed, and then they could just keep building on that. Whereas if you're chasing the other team, you're out of your game plan and you make more mistakes and you give more opportunities and so on.
Yeah. So Jonathan Quick, it started yesterday at.
Wait, that's all you had to say about my comments?
No, I think what do you want me to say? I agree with you. Jonathan Quick, 9:29 p.m. last night, Little Ed sends a text into the group chat. Holy shnikes. Didn't say shnikes. Let's say there. We may have a new starting goalie. Coach Ed at 10:06 p.m. Oh, sorry, me at 9:49 p.m. Start Quick on Tuesday. That's all I said. Coach Ed at 10:06 p.m. It's his job to lose right now. But I just want to gauge where all of us are at, the 3 of us, because I don't know where the fans are. So start with Little Ed. Your comment Holy shnikes, we may have a new starting goalie. Explain where we're at with this.
That was like 66% troll job and 33% serious. But no, I'll let Coach Ed touch on this a little bit more. But I mean, obviously, it's on a much different scale. I mean, going into our Stony Brook season, we knew who our quote unquote starting goalie was going to be. But the season started out a little slow. It seemed like both goalies weren't taking things as seriously as we needed them to be, and we kind of threatened them, saying it's anybody's net right now. So I think what Coach Ed by Coach Ed saying like it's anybody's net right now, obviously he's probably trolling a little bit too, but that's what he means. It's like if Quick is the hot goalie, you got to roll with him. It's just because Igor won a Vezina 2 years ago and he's quote unquote the best goalie in the world and blah 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 doesn't mean he's hot right now. So it's a really tough decision to make. It's not something I would want to make. It's hard for us to do it at the club hockey college level, and we feel like we're kind of hurting our goalie's feelings in a way by constantly sitting our backup goalie on the bench and things like that. So I don't know what it's like to make that decision on an NHL level, Coach.
That's a good non-answer.
I think I wasn't saying it 100% to troll. I was saying it 2 weeks ago. The guy's undefeated. He's playing lights out. He's a championship goalie. Has the feeling of pressure at the highest level. He's rejuvenated by Benny working with him a little bit, and he's playing like it. So it's not like you're starting some rookie goalie. You're starting like a Marc-Andre Fleury, starting for the Wild. If he gets the starting job for a few weeks, there's nothing wrong with putting some pressure on Igor. Maybe he's got some mental thing he's got to work out. There's nothing wrong with switching it up a little. And Igor's got to – I don't think Igor will hate him for it. I think his competitive edge will make him work harder. So that I'm not worried about. But, I mean, come on. 2 bad losses in a row. I'm not blaming it on him, but –
I didn't mean to bounce around the question, but it's right now I would go with Quick, the hot goalie. That's what I was trying to say. And
I'm not saying he's the number one goalie for the rest of the year, but right now – look, if you have a guy that's putting in 10 pucks in the net, you're going to say put him up on the first line. Or put him on the power play.
You're hedging quite a bit. Your text said it's his. Yeah, you said it's his job to lose right now. So unequivocally, that's a statement that Jonathan Quick is the number one goalie, and if he keeps playing the way he is, that Igor's not getting the net back. That's what you're saying. He has to lose the net.
I'm for that.
I'm not saying you're not for it. I'm just trying to clarify because now you're saying, you could be the starter for a couple weeks. Like that's much different than it's his job to lose.
Well, was he ever a number one goalie?
Of course.
All right. So he has the mentality. He has the mentality. He has the ability. If he keeps winning and keeps playing at this level, why can't he stay as the number one? What do you want to do? Put Shesterkin in, and if he's letting pucks in the net, and then they're all of a sudden they're not in first, then what are you going to say? Oh, we should have put Quick in. That's what the media is going to say. Why didn't he? If it turns and goes downhill because he stays with Igor as the number one, everybody's going to say, why didn't you put Quick in? So there's that media pressure on everybody, and I think he's going to do what he needs to do for the team. And if Quick is the number one guy right now until Igor, maybe Igor's hurt a little bit still. I mean, we don't know.
Let me ask you a question. If do you think Igor is like all of a sudden a bad goalie, or do you think he's just going through a rough stretch?
He's in a rut. He's in a rut.
Right.
You're never on top of the world that much, and in the top, say, 5 goalies in the world, and you just turn into a bad goalie. And goaltending,
it's happened like one or two times. It's happened like 1 or 2 times where a goalie just like all of a sudden lost it.
I don't think that's the case because he's making
a German goalie. I can't remember his name. Olaf Kolzig. It happened to. Tommy Salo. It happened to.
I was thinking about the guy in Philly, Humongous Big. What was that guy's name? That was on the Winter Classic show, Journey to the Winter Classic.
Ilya Brizgalov.
Yeah, he used to be. He was really good, or supposed to be really good, and he just collapsed.
He collapsed. So it does happen.
Let's not say it's going to happen to Igor. All right,
I'm not saying that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying right now, until he gets
100%.
out of this funk,
yeah,
and he's lighting it up. I mean, Quick made some couple of really good saves to keep the Rangers in that 2-0, 2-1 game. And Igor's not making those spectacular saves right now that we're used to, like you said last episode. He needs to make those saves because every team needs that, not just him. Every team needs a goalie back there to make those big saves when they make a mistake. Yeah. And right now, Igor's not.
So, okay, you've hedged enough on your one sentence text.
We both have.
For me to realize that we're not so far apart in our opinions, even though it seemed like it initially. Because what you're saying now is, I agree. Obviously, Quick is 8-0-1. He's got a .922 save percentage. He's making, it's not just team defense either. Like, he makes 1 or 2 highlight reel saves a game that Igor's not making, like you said. And Igor, I know it's not all his fault, but he was terrible in those 2 games. Absolutely terrible. They still would have lost. I get it. But some of those goals.
The one that he let go on the glove side, I understand that's a snipe, but he makes that save. And then Quick made that save the next night.
Right. Exactly.
Almost an identical play. He made the save.
So I think Igor needs a kick in the rear end, kind of.
Yeah, right? A little competitive edge. He didn't have that. He's never really had that. He's always been like, yeah.
Yeah. No, but that's different than saying Quick's the number 1 goalie. Igor's the number 1 goalie, and it's not Quick is now the number 1 goalie. It's just that Quick's outplaying you right now, so he's going to play, get it together, and you'll be back in the net. I'm confident you will. I'm sure the coach isn't like, all right, Quick's our guy now. Like that, there's no way they're going to say that. They're just going to tell Igor, we're going to ride Quick while he's hot. You need to get it together, work with Benny, and you'll be back in. Don't worry. It's like that, That's how I see it, at least.
No, that's how it is. And then he's got to work back in, get a game to build his confidence.
All right, so you just don't want to say the words, but Quick is the number 1 goalie.
He's not, though. He's not.
If Igor's not playing, if Igor's not the starter in most of the games in the next 2 weeks, then Quick is the number 1 goalie right now.
I don't think it'll be 2 weeks. I think it'll be 3 games.
If Quick plays back-to-back games, he's the number 1 goalie.
Oh, that's it. That's the rule. All right.
Let's put it. If he plays if they beat Toronto and he plays a really good game, then they got to ride him.
Yeah.
If he could beat Toronto with the scorers they have on that team, and the Rangers play well and they beat him, then that's the answer to me. They got to ride him. Sorry.
Well,
sometimes things happen in a season where you look at all these historical championship teams in all these sports, and it's like one guy makes this comeback. Not all of them, but it happens often. One guy, like look at the Giants in '91 with O.J. Anderson. It was the end of his career. He became the number 1 running back on the team, and they won the Super Bowl. So I'm not saying Igor isn't going to be their number 1 goalie for the next 10 years. But
Jonathan
it's not
Quick
impossible.
leads the Rangers to a Stanley Cup championship.
It's not impossible.
I'm going to eat my hat. It's not happening.
All right.
Get that out of your mind. No chance. No chance.
You're just closed-minded with a lot of. How could you be open-minded on so much and closed-minded on?
It's because Quick wasn't a prospect for the Rangers and Shesterkin was.
Right. No, it's because
it's just like
if Quick was a 23-year-old rookie. When they doing this, coach would say, I need to see more. I need to see more. But because Quick has a cup championship 7 years ago or 8 years ago, he's done it before. He could. That's it. Like once the guy
said it's not impossible. I'm not rooting for it. I want them all to succeed.
What would be the average age
now?
of
They got to ride what
team?
Makes them successful.
34.6 years of age, average age.
All right.
And what were you saying when they put Brzezinski
on
Don't
say all right. You're the one who did this.
When they had Brzezinski on the number 1 power play, what were you saying?
I was happy. I was like,
what I said.
You were happy about that.
I was. I thought it was a good move because Laffy was in the box. Who else are they going to put there? Once Laffy and Zibby are in the box, who are you going to put there? Good
an AHL player a lifetime AHL player. They put on the #1 power play. When they put
spot.
But
when
over
they put, what's his name, Blackwell on it, you went nuts.
Because who'd they put him on over? Kako, Hedel, Lafreniere. Who'd they put Brodzinski out there over? Zibby and Laffy are in the box. The 4 main guys are on the ice. Who's left? Goudreau.
All right, so now he succeeded. Now he succeeded, and he doesn't deserve another chance?
No.
Just because Laffy was the #1 pick overall, he should be on the first power play. He didn't earn it. He just should be there because he was drafted #1 in the world.
I think he's earned it. He's been the best player on the team for a week or two. I mean, other than Trocheck. He's been the most consistent.
I wouldn't say the best player on the team. He's
been the most consistent forward on the team. Forechecking, making plays.
He hasn't been playing better than Trocheck.
No, I said Trocheck's been better. That's the only one I'd say. All around. Yeah. Trocheck's been a beast, but I mean, he stands out.
Anyway, let's move on to the next topic.
The next topic is Johnny Brodzinski.
If Mike was here, he'd be going like this.
It's your own fault. You guys tell me to move on.
I do have a roller hockey game tonight, so we got to move on. But while we were in the subject of, we were praising Quick and kind of, I don't know, ragging on Igor a little bit. We can't ignore the way that the Rangers were playing in front of Igor those 2 games. I mean, that kind of ties into players like Trocheck and Brodzinski. You see them hustling. You see them doing everything that they can in these games. But the defensive play, I mean, what happened? Earlier in the season, they looked great. And we were praising Laviolette's system and the structure and moving players in and out. Now, all of a sudden, we're using injuries as an excuse. And
I never said injuries.
Fan base, the Rangers fan base,
fans are
whatever. He is a fan base.
I think
and Cousin Ed too, and that's why I said let's save it for the episode. And I think I made the point in the beginning, like when Fox went down, we said like, oh, Gustafsson was able to move in seamlessly because of the system and stuff like that. So why isn't that happening now?
Well, I think the reason I think injuries are playing a part is because when that example occurred, why it was successful, I think, is Gustafsson and Jones are similar to Fox. So like Gustafsson could move into Fox's spot and he plays that kind of offensive passing style. So he was able to like seamlessly replace Fox enough. And Jones stepped into Gustafsson's spot and was able to do what he did enough. So I think, and they stepped up. I mean, they also stepped up. We got to say that. Whereas like Kako, while he wasn't filling the score sheet, is one of our best transition defensive forwards. I mean, he is. Yeah. Statistically, he's one of the best on the team at the neutral zone defense, takeaways, things like that. And Hedel's speed. I mean, it's hard to replace that. You know, you can say what you want about Hedel. He's one of the fastest guys on the team. So I think the guys who have stepped up have done admirably, but it catches up after a while. Like, how long can these AAAA, and for those of you that don't know, that is a baseball reference for a player who can dominate at AAA, but is not quite good enough for the majors, right? How many of those guys can you actually have in your forward core for an extended period of time before you start to see things break down? And they're all playing well. Like, I'm happy with it. Overall, individually, I can say, you know, Brodzinski has stepped up. Even Riley Nash stepped in. He forechecked hard. You know, this, that. I can do that individually. But overall, we have 5 top 6 forwards healthy on the team right now. 5. And then the rest of the forwards are fourth liners. That's the reality. So I think that hurts the transition defense. There's just not enough talent up front to maintain the system over an extended period. It can happen in a short period, but not in an extended period. And I know Coach is going to disagree, but that's my opinion.
I was about to say, it looks like Coach Ed is biting his tongue.
He's ready. Now, so he put the glasses. He slid the glasses up his nose. He's ready to yell.
You're just so big on labeling people. You know, you're just so big on what makes you say because Hedel has speed. He's a top 6 forward in the NHL.
He's a top 9 forward.
He's a top 6 forward in the AHL. Why can't he be, with time, playing with the right guys, a top 6 forward in the NHL?
Well, at some point, your record is what it says it is, right? And Brodzinski's 30 years old.
All right.
So over an extended period, I have significant doubts that Brodzinski could maintain scoring at this level.
To that opinion. I personally,
I'm not saying he can't. I just think it's unlikely. You shouldn't rely on that. You shouldn't say
I don't think it has any.
No,
you weren't saying nothing about the injuries 2 weeks ago. We were saying it, but not that it was hurting them. I was saying how good it was that these guys were filling in and playing the system.
That's what I
They lost two. They lost 2 games. A similar team to Buffalo, so they're going to have to adjust to playing, in my opinion, to those kind of teams, because obviously those kind of teams are the speed through the neutral zone is probably a little bit harder to defend with that 1-3-1, right? So now they're going to have to figure. I'm watching the post-game press conferences, and Laviolette saying we're making a few wrong reads on the neutral zone, and that's probably what's happening with the speed. So they're probably figuring it out. Teams study the Rangers. Washington played under Laviolette, so they might know a way to beat the system. Again, I didn't see that game because I was away, and I'm going to guess they had his number a little bit. You guys saw it. What do you think about that? Anything or?
I just felt
the team was just flat, and
they were
flat again.
Washington seemed, like you said, a lot more prepared than the Rangers, and it was hard. It was just a very poor game overall.
It was an effort thing in that game, in my opinion. It was effort. I mean, you need to have a fire. You're the number 1 seed in the league in the East, and this is a division opponent who's trying to catch you. It's your coach's old team. They need to come out there and want to make a statement, and they just didn't. They have too many guys who are just
maybe Laviolette didn't put any money up on the bulletin board.
Yeah. So look, Coach, just to wrap this up, I'm not saying injuries are the reason. I'm saying, in my opinion, injuries are contributing. It's a lot. I mean, you're losing 2 top 9 players and replacing them with guys that you had pegged for Hartford. And they're veteran guys. These aren't like top prospects who have the skill to fill those roles. They're guys who get minimum deals, right? They're bouncing around the league and surviving in the NHL/AHL role. Nothing against them. They're doing admirably. But I think that catches up with you over time. So 2 weeks ago, it was blaming the injuries. In a short period, you can mask it. But if you play 3 months with this lineup, they're not going to be 19-6-1. It's not going to happen, right? They need to figure it out before they get into the March, April time period.
Well,
and they're going to make moves at the deadline if the injuries are that bad. They're not going to.
Of course, they got to figure it out. But Boston did it last year for a couple of months, and they're doing it again this year without 2 key players. So you can make up for it to a degree. Look, I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying they don't miss them at all, but good teams make it through that in every sport.
Yeah.
I think the
decision have to. They're all NHL players or borderline NHL players, for what you want to call it, up and down guys. They're all at that skill level, and they're all have pretty close to the mentality they need to play at that level. So they're going to need guys like the Boston guys to step it up for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and before
they have no choice. What is the choice? Kakko's out. They're not even given a timetable.
Right.
Hedl may not return this season, for what I saw. So you're going to have to do something.
He said he's going to return. Laviolette said he'll be back this year. So, but we don't know what that means.
Right, that could be March. That could be February, exactly. March.
No idea.
So they're going to have to figure it out quick.
So before we transition to the D, I think in these 2 games in particular, one of the things I noticed, and I didn't spend the time during the games actually analyzing this from a hockey whiteboard perspective, but I noticed Barclay Goodrow, he took that stick or puck off the face. He's out for 2 games. Rangers defensive structure collapses, right? And then he comes back last night with the full shield, and all of a sudden the Rangers are playing structure. So look, his contract is a big topic among Rangers fans, and in a salary cap world, it's going to be hard to move forward with his contract as is. But just looking at him and like, what is his value? I don't know. Is that a coincidence that he comes back and all of a sudden everything is fitting a little better in a defensive structure? And while he's out, the team looks like they're in disarray. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think it's I don't think it's a coincidence, but I wouldn't say it's completely on him, obviously. But I mean, because I know you don't get like the post game and stuff being at a state with the feeds and stuff, but they had Laviolette discussing it and asking him why he started the Goudreau line. And was that like a message to him, or was it the message to the team? Like, what was it? And he said it was kind of like a reward in a way, showing him that this is how much he means to the team. So, yeah. I mean, for your head coach to say that, I mean, like you just said, he's not putting up the points. He's making a lot of money. But we talk about it all the time, his championship pedigree, his leadership in the locker room, and things like that. And obviously, like I said, like your head coach making that statement to the media, to all the fans out there listening, that this guy means that much to the locker room, means that much to the team. And for him to come out with the face shield probably fired the team up even more. This guy could lay down and take a puck to the face or whatever. I mean, it didn't happen on that one. It was more of an accident, but he does that kind of stuff all the time. So just something like that always sends a message to the team. Coming back from an injury a little bit earlier than you should, things like that, wearing a face shield instead of sitting out. He easily could have sat that game out if he wanted to, but he wanted to be back out there, and then the coach rewards him. So clearly he's a huge part of the team. And I'm sure if like Panarin or someone's making a bad pass or not doing the right thing, Goudreau's going to be saying something to them.
Yeah, Panarin in these games, 5 giveaways in 3 games, which he hasn't been doing this year. He's been lower on the giveaways, but 5 in these games, including 4 in the Ottawa game. I think it was the Ottawa game. 4 in that game.
Yeah,
alone.
the Ottawa game was noticeable with him.
Yeah, so I mean, look, he's still around the net. He's driving to the net, drawing penalties, which I haven't seen him do in 3 years. He's doing a lot of good things offensively, but I'm seeing a lot of dashes in the plus-minus column, coach's favorite stat on this team. As good as they are, the Rangers are 19-6-1. Panarin's -1, Fox is -1, Laffy's -3, Cooley's -1, Wheeler -3, Schneider -2, Bonino is even minus. It's a little concerning.
Well, they're all going to be minus if you let up 10 goals and put up 2.
Yeah, well, no, not in the whole season. The Rangers are 19-6-1. And Aaron has 38 points, and he's -1.
That puts you over the edge.
We're trying to get coach to talk some shit, and he's refusing.
Yeah, he just likes to go against me. That's it. Anything I say.
No, it's not going against you. I'm thinking about I'm thinking about the cause. If the Rangers are winning, all right. Panarin has 38 points, and what is he plus minus? What's his plus minus?
-1.
All right, if he's playing at -1 at even strength, I'm good with it. If he's -10, 12, something like that, 14, then I'm no good with it. But if he's hovering around that's where you weight the plus minus. That's the weighted look. There's all those variables. We keep saying we need to make a formula. If he's around +1, -1, but he's got 38, 50 points or whatever, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I think
he's not giving the puck away as much.
I think his giveaways are down. So we got called out.
Isn't there a differential for that? Isn't there a differential for that? The giveaways and takeaways?
Yeah, definitely. Panarin on the season. Let's take a look.
Because I think that should be the coach.
9 takeaways.
The coach had Panarin stat.
What? So he has more giveaways than takeaways, if that's your question. So he's got 11 takeaways and 20 giveaways.
Did you guys notice in the game last night that there was one spot in the ice by the Rangers bench inside the blue line? The Kings lost the puck there, like just whiffed at it. I'm going to say 4 times that I noticed, and Panarin in the same spot whiffed on it and got that high sticking penalty.
No.
Oh, that penalty was so weird.
It was right in that spot of the ice. I saw it, like I'm watching it. I'm going, that Kings guy missed the puck totally. Like it hit a wet spot or something.
And maybe that MSG ice is terrible. So
it happened multiple times, and it was the same spot as that Panarin play. He went to turn and fire it, and he had no puck on his stick, and it was weird as hell.
Got to put the application in for the Zamponi job at MSG and fix that.
I'll straighten shit out over there.
Anyway, all right. I think this is a good time to throw it over to our interview. Send it over to Jackie. Fans, you can find our next guest on NHL Network, NHL on TNT, and WWE Monday Night Raw on USA Network. Please welcome to the Rangers Ed podcast, Jackie Redmon.
What's up? What's up? I'm so glad that I could finally do this. I feel like we've kind of bantered back and forth in the comments on social media about actually doing this for a long time. So I appreciate your patience, gentlemen, but I made it happen eventually.
Are you kidding me? We can't thank you enough for coming on. So the bantering was enjoyable, so don't worry about that.
All right, good. I was worth the wait.
You're probably our biggest star so far, so we're good.
Oh, don't tell EJ.
I was about to say, don't tell EJ we said that.
Oh, he knows. Don't worry.
So tell us a little bit about you and your career path. What led you to NHL Network and reporting on hockey?
Well, do you want the long version or the less long version? They're both long, but my sort of foot into the door of this industry in general. I mean, I always wanted to cover hockey. It was always my dream. I mean, I grew up in Canada. I played hockey. I watched hockey. My sister played hockey. Like, that was just a part of our upbringing, as it is for many people in Canada. But I got, really close with my dad and listened to sports talk radio for a long time. And when I got to high school, like I always say, when I got to high school and everyone was kind of, going through their awkward phase and trying to fit in and feeling uncomfortable and comfortable and all these things that high school life presents, the most comfortable I ever felt was talking hockey in class or with other students or whatever. That's when I felt most myself. So that's kind of what pushed me to kind of go after this type of career and just try to work in hockey in some capacity, whether it was on air or writing, or I was even open to doing PR or marketing or anything that would just keep me kind of close to the game. But my big break, so to speak, came on a reality show that was called Gillette Drafted, the search for Canada's next sportscaster. So think like American Idol, but for sportscasting. And I ended up on that show because I had auditioned for a hockey show for 6 months and I didn't get it. And they came back to me, the producers, a couple of months later, and they said, we have this other show, but you have to talk about all sports. And I was like, well, I hate to break it to you, but I don't know anything about soccer. So I feel like I'm going to fail at this, but it all worked out. And that's sort of where it began. And then I covered all sports for a few years. And then I finally got my shot auditioning at NHL Network, and I got it. So I guess the rest is history.
Wow, that's great stories.
You said you played hockey, so
I did.
Did you play from a little kid, or when did you start playing hockey?
So I figure skated until I was like 8. But my sister started playing hockey right away. I mean, she was playing boys hockey when she was 5, 6, 7. And I would have to go to her tournaments. And I don't want to brag, but I was quite a competitive figure skater for a while there. As competitive as you can be when you're like 7. And so I would have to go to her tournaments. And honest to God, I'll never forget the day. I'm at my sister's hockey tournament. They're in a game to go to the championship game of that tournament. And my sister is a smaller individual like myself. And someone slashed her goalie and she speared that person, like Roman Reigns style, like speared them. They were way bigger than her. And the whole team, both teams just were like at each other. And they ended up winning that game and going to the final and like winning the championship of that tournament, coming first place of that tournament. And like, that was kind of the first time that I saw like mini sticks in the hallways and sort of just like the camaraderie of actually being on a hockey team and traveling and stuff. And when we got home from that, I told my mom that I wanted to switch from figure skating to hockey. And my mom cried because she loved figure skating so much and she thought I was so good at it. But the next year that summer, they put me in a hockey camp over the summer. Luckily, I was a pretty good skater. So if you can skate, you usually can figure the rest out. And so I actually started really late. Like, I don't know the average age when I was a kid in the States that people would start, but in Canada, I mean, if you're playing hockey and you want to play competitive, you have to start at like 5, 6, even in girls hockey. So I'm lucky that I was a decent skater because my hands were not good. Like, they were bad. Like, I just had to skate faster than everybody and bank it off the boards and go around people. So that's kind of how it started.
When did you stop playing? What level did you end up at?
So I stopped when I moved away to college. I brought my equipment with me. And so I went to Guelph Humber, and Guelph Humber was a combination of 2 schools at the time. So it was Guelph University and Humber College. And so to play girls hockey, you'd play for Guelph, but I was living on the north campus of Humber College, which is in like Etobicoke area of Toronto. And it was just too much to have to go to Guelph all the time to practice and play the game. So I stopped basically when I went to college. That's when it was over for me.
Well, so did you take communications in college to move towards your career, or?
So I was in a dual program. So I did 6 years of school in 4 years. I got a diploma in broadcast journalism from Humber, and then I got a mass communications degree from the University of Guelph. So the appeal of the school, because I thought I was going to go to Ryerson. I wanted to go to Ryerson. I didn't get in because that's like the journalism. That's like if you're really good, that's where you go. That's like the snobby journalism school in Canada. And I was on the waiting list, so I didn't get in, and I accepted Guelph Humber. And the appealing part of that was that you kind of got the best of both worlds. Like, you got that in Canada, it's like university and college are different. So college is very hands-on. You go out with the camera, you write for an actual paper, like you do the things. In university, it's a lot more theory based. So you're reading a lot of books and talking about, like the ethics of journalism and proper sentence structure and like that sort of thing. So I feel like I got the best of both. I was doing hands-on, newscasts, and then I was also reading about the proper way to be a journalist. So, although I do remind people that I am not a serious journalist, I'm more of a sports personality, I like to say.
Okay. Well, you mentioned your sister doing the Roman Reigns spearing, so I guess we have to mention WWE. How did you get into WWE, and like how that path? Did you grow up watching wrestling, or?
So, to answer the second part of your question, I had a phase where I was very into WWE, and it was the Attitude Era. I was in grade school. I was pretty young. Like, my parents, to be honest, didn't want me watching it, or my sister. But this was when The Rock and Stone Cold and Triple H, the Hardy Boys, Lita, the Dudley Boys, like all those people were in their primes of their careers. And, Trish Stratus was a big deal, and she's Canadian, obviously. So I had about a 3-year period where I was like die hard into it. I was in Canada. You could go to the movie theater to watch what used to be called the pay-per-views, now PLEs. So me and my sister would beg our parents to let us go watch WrestleMania at the movie theater.
Wow.
And all of that. I mean, we had WrestleMania 2000. I mean, we were big time WWE fans, even though our parents thought it was bad for us and it wasn't good. So I was a fan. Like, we used to sneak in the basement to kind of see the end of Monday Night Raw because it would end so late. Like, we were supposed to be in bed, so we'd sneak back down to like find out if The Rock won the main event or like whatever was going on. So I definitely had a bit of like I had like core memories from being a fan, and I knew what the product was about because of that, which was great because, fast forward years and years later, I win this reality show, and the prize was a 1-year contract at a sports network. And so when I started at that network, I was actually not on camera right away, much to my dismay. I thought I would just like walk in and like be on TV. And it didn't go that way. I was cutting highlights, which I think I remember when my now mentor, And boss at the time said, we're not going to have you on TV doing these feature pieces. I had been pitching, like going to Leafs practice and like doing a story on like Phil Kessel and Joffrey Lupul and like their chemistry, whatever. And so I had done a few of those thinking that was going to be my path. And then they said, you're not going to be on camera anymore. You're not going to go to, Leafs morning skate. You are going to cut highlights of all sports. And so I spent a year watching baseball, soccer, hockey, whatever was in season, and actually putting the highlight packs together, writing the scripts with an editor, and then handing them off to another anchor to actually voice and do on television, which again, like I've never known more about what's going on in sports than when I was doing that job, because we would do 6-7 games on our own every single night. We'd have 4 monitors and we'd be pausing and starting and pausing and grabbing clips and putting these packs together. And I kind of give you this long-winded answer because I was doing that for about 9 or 10 months. And I had been begging for opportunities the whole time. Like I was doing fake shows in a closet with Sofia Jurcevic, like true story. She covers the Boston Bruins now. I had been booking studio time to record myself doing these updates that never saw the light of day, but I would get people to critique them. And so they knew that I wanted a shot. And eventually, after 10 months of doing highlights, my boss at the time, Greg Sansoni, came to me and he said, hey, the hosting role is opening up on our wrestling show. It's called Aftermath. And they basically would come on once a week and they would talk about everything that happened in WWE programming that week on Raw and SmackDown. And he was like, do you know anything about WWE? And I was like, I know a lot about the 3 years that I watched it as a kid. And he was like, he's like, it's like a soap opera, you watch it for a few weeks, you'll catch up. I'm like, okay.
Right back up. Yeah.
He's like, listen, do you want to do it? Because this is like the first chance that we're giving you to actually be a host on television. And they could have offered me any job. They could have had me like covering, I don't even know, pickleball or whatever, like before pickleball was all the craze. And I would have said yes. So luckily for me, I the foundation. But I was like, yes, I'm going to be on TV. Sign me up. Like I will do it. And I owe a lot to wrestling in that way, because I feel like I really cut my teeth and made a lot of mistakes on that show and kind of learned how to be a host on Aftermath. So when it came back full circle years later, I mean, I was in the States at NHL Network for 5 years when WWE came calling, and I immediately wanted to do it because I felt like kind of a sentimental tie a little bit, that like that was my first real hosting gig. So that's kind of how I started covering WWE, and they knew me from that show because WWE knows everyone that talks about their product and are very aware. And so a few years ago, they called me up and said, what do you think about this? And I was like, can I still do hockey? And they said, yes, we will work around your hockey. And I said, well, it sounds like perfect then.
Wow.
Nice.
Great.
Awesome.
Cover a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, it's so funny because hockey and WWE are so different, but in a lot of ways, I feel like covering WWE has made me a better broadcaster in a lot of ways. I think for a long time, I always wanted to act like in post-game interviews or arrival interviews, which are the bane of most reporters' existence, because you record them at 5 o'clock and the player is in like their routine of getting ready for the game. They don't really want to do them. It's not a place that generally you can have fun anyways, I used to stress like crazy over these interviews because you only get 2 questions. The player's not really in the mood to do it because their puck drops in 2 hours. Like they're just trying to get there, listen to their music, do their stretches, whatever, get their gear ready. And so I always used to ask just the stereotypical boring question about the game and like let them be on their way. And I feel like since I've, been covering WWE, not just on the road with them, but just the last couple of years of watching the product closely and and covering it, I'm like, you know what? Like every moment is an opportunity, and these guys are human beings and they like to laugh and joke around and have fun. So screw it. Like not every, pre and post game interview has to be super serious. And so this year I've really taken on the attitude of just ask about the game, cover the game, but if there's an opening to do something different, do it. And I have a clip that I will forever be proud of that I should actually pin to my Instagram page. But like, I interviewed Connor McDavid. I asked him about Nickelback and like.
I know you're a huge Nickelback guy. Did you see any of the show? And how pumped are you to get a win as on the same turf that they put on a performance?
Yeah, we heard it from the room. They did a great job. Obviously Alberta proud. They're one of the best bands of all time. I feel comfortable saying that. I really do. They're unbelievable. So they put on a great show and got the crowd going for us in the third.
If you were to put a song on right now to celebrate by Nickelback, which one would it be?
Oh, good question. Burn It to the Ground, probably. That'll get the guys going.
Oh, that's a good one. Thank you for this and congrats on the win.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Nickelback, and like more people have asked me about that interview and about Nickelback and Connor McDavid than anything serious I've ever covered. So it's been really fun to kind of like mesh those two worlds together and kind of change my perspective of like, okay, I do want to cover the game and I love the game, but I also think that there's opportunity to kind of show who some of these characters are as well. So that's what I'm trying to do.
It seems like the NHL now show is moving more towards that with the players. They're doing that segment of like 20 minutes. By the way, I miss you on that show. I was watching it religiously.
Thank you.
You do a great job when you're on the bench and you do the interview with the coach on the bench. To me, some of these people who do that, it seems like they're annoying the coach, but you're asking like relevant questions, in my opinion.
Thank you.
And I think it's a great job.
Well, you know what? I appreciate that because that particular spot is very anxiety inducing because the game is going on. The coach is in the middle of doing their job. And you like, for me, I don't know how it works for other people, but I come up with all my own questions there for better or worse. So if you hear me ask a bad question, 99% chance like I came up with it. So like I own that. But if I ask a good question, I like people to know that like I came up with that question. I decided to ask that. And I take a lot of pride in it and I think a lot about it. And in some ways I probably overthink those questions sometimes, but this is going to sound so self-serving, but I'll say it anyways. Like I think the most proud I've ever been in my career was last year during the Stanley Cup final with TNT covering the Florida Panthers and interviewing Paul Maurice a lot and really kind of gaining his respect. I mean, he's a personality. Any interview he does is going to be great. But, I've kind of realized that NHL Now was such a huge opportunity for me in the sense that in the United States at the time, when I started there, that's the only place that 24 hours a day, like if you want hockey content, it's going to be there. And I think because I was on that show for as long as I was and was willing to kind of be vulnerable on that show, I think a lot of the coaches now, because that's what's on in the arenas, especially in the United States, because there's not at 4:00 in the afternoon, like there's no hockey coverage anywhere else. So if you want to know what's going on in the league and you're a coach, like that's where it is. So I think I gained the respect of some of the coaches in the NHL just by being on that show. And so I'm forever grateful to the NHL Network for giving me that platform and also just allowing me to really like be myself and like do a Feisty Friday and go on there for 5 minutes and just blabber on and on about, whatever topic I chose. And, sometimes those got me into hot water. I won't say which ones. Like sometimes the teams called and were like, can you not refer to this losing streak as a debacle? Like we don't, like that happens.
Oh, come on.
But like for the network to, support me and say, go out there, give your opinion. Like we love it. I am very aware that they didn't have to say yes to those types of things. So I think all of those things are part and parcel why coaches put up with me and my sometimes bad questions. But I do think I asked mostly good ones.
I mean, that was going to be part two of my question. Like when you're leading up to going on the bench, because we coach And I'm saying I wouldn't want to even be looking at anybody, let alone answering a question during the game. Like you said, there's pressure of a game going on, and sometimes the game's playing and it's still going. Like, what do you?
So here,
the whole process I want to know about.
I'm going to peel back like the curtain here completely, because some of the things that happen to you in that spot are wild. So
that's what I want to know.
I'll talk about a game, a couple of games that I did this year, and like those interviews happen at the same time in every game. It's always after the second commercial break. So second commercial break, which always happens in the first whistle under 14 minutes of the period. As soon as there's a whistle, as long as it's not a goal or an icing, they're going to commercial. When they come back, you're going to have that coach interview coming back from that break. So you always know like roughly where it's going to happen. But because it's hockey, you know that there could be, 2 minutes of play before you get a whistle, or it could be 5 seconds. Like you just have no idea. So you're always in behind the bench a couple, or at least I am. I can only speak for myself, I guess. I'm always by the bench a couple of minutes before I'm even, or sorry, not the under 14, the under 10. So I'm usually going there once I hit like the 12-minute mark, like I'm at the bench, because I'm like, I don't know how fast or slow this is going to go, but I want to be ready. But what happens sometimes is the game goes on and you think you're like, I've got one question. And if his answer is short, I got my follow-up, like we're good. And then you are behind the bench, you're watching on the Jumbotron because you have no monitor anymore. So your only way to keep up with the game is the in-house feed. And things happen. So for example, I had the Rangers and the Red Wings early on in the season. And I think the Rangers were up 1-0. And I'm going to the visitors bench to interview the head coach of the Detroit Red Wings. Okay. So I go over there and I'm sitting there, Rangers power play, boom, scored 2-0. Rangers get another power play, boom, scored 3-0. They scored 2 power play goals in a minute. And I'm sitting there and they're going to commercial. I'm like, I got to go on the bench and talk to Derek Lalonde now? This has absolutely nothing to do with me. Like, there is no way. And, you have to go out there and do the interview. And so, I went out there. It's so funny. Like, you have an earpiece in and I walk over and I'm changing my questions because I can't ask whatever the heck I was going to ask when it was 1-0. It's a completely different game now. Yeah. So you're like, okay, like in 30 seconds, I need to change my question, hope that it's good, and also hope that the coach isn't so pissed off at his team that he takes it out on me. Because like, that's, we're all emotional, right? Like, imagine yourself in that spot as a coach. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. No. I would be so emotional. It would be so bad. But thankfully he was super kind and was great and answered the questions. But there's been times where things have gone really bad and we've called off the coach interview. And I tell this story because a lot of the coaches actually don't like it. So I won't say what coach it was, but we were doing a game and a similar pardon me. You guys can guess if you want and try to read my poker face, but this is last year. This is last season. We're doing a game and a team got scored on like 3 or 4 times right before that interview. Like it was embarrassing and they were on home ice and we decided not to do the interview. And I come to find out like a week later or whatever, I had the same team and the same coach and they were like, I was waiting for you. Why didn't you come to the interview? I was like, well, I don't know. You guys were kind of getting shit kicked and we just decided that like maybe you didn't want to talk. And he was like, no, he's like, number one, like the coach knows it's going to be happening. So they're expecting it. So they're like in their own, like all human beings, they're like, okay, what do I need to be ready for? What is this person going to ask? You sometimes forget that there's a human on the other side that also wants to look good and sound good. Yeah. And so they're like, we're expecting it. But also sometimes, we want to use that minute to say something to our fan base. Like, yeah, I know our penalty kill is absolute garbage right now. And this is why. And also, there's players in front of you, sitting in front of you, and they can often hear what's going on, obviously, right behind them. And so it's an opportunity for the coach to somewhat send a message that way as well. So I have learned that not every coach, but some coaches, they don't want you to blow it off. They want their chance to be like, to also, I think, let the fan base know, like, hey, I know I know what's going on right now. Let me kind of create the narrative a little bit here, in terms of public perception, and then with their players. But yeah, there's been some funny moments on the benches for sure.
Can you give us one?
Oh gosh, hang on. I want to make sure I give you a good one. Well, I had a coach, I went on the bench, and again, like, we have an earpiece in, right? So a lot of times right before, the game's going on, the in-house game operations is doing their thing. Your producer's talking to you like, hey, we're coming to you in 30. They're giving you like some sort of count or whatever. And so one time I'm standing there and I'm listening to my producer in one ear, not realizing that this particular head coach was talking to me, and I was completely ignoring him. And he was like, "Are you really just ignoring me right now?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And he didn't even realize that you were talking to me." But I was like standing right beside him. And I felt bad about that one. But I was like, "It's my earpiece, I swear." Like, I was just distracted. Please still be nice to me. But yeah, it's there's some funny things that can happen. And sometimes if I have a good rapport with a coach, if I know that I want to ask something that's, maybe not the most positive question, like for their team, I'll be like, "Hey, I'm going to ask you this. Like, is that cool?" And they'll be like, "Yeah," or "No," or whatever. And I'll still ask it, but at least I've given them like a heads up, like, "Hey, I'm coming in with XYZ." And I think coaches, the one thing I will say that I have learned, because I've been a studio host, the 98% of my career covering hockey, I've been in a studio. I haven't been a rinkside reporter. A lot of people forget that. Like, I'm 2 years into being a rinkside reporter. And one of the things I learned, I think it was Pete DeBoer that told me this. He's like, I think the best thing that you can do, and one of the things that I like that you do, is that you ask an actual question.
That's
like, don't give me a statement, don't tell me what's happening in the game, just ask a question. He goes, and I think that you do a good job of just asking a question. And so I try really hard to remember that, to be like, I don't need to like make sure the audience knows that I've been watching the period and that this and this happened.
Yeah.
You comment or whatever, like that happens sometimes. So
yeah, you just gave up 2 goals in a minute, coach. How do you feel?
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like, ask a question. And also, like, maybe, you don't have to tell the coach what's happening. Like, I can't think of a specific example, but like, let's say a team was like having, I don't know, like a bunch of turnovers in the neutral zone or something. Like, you're better off being like, "Hey, is there anything you guys can clean up in the neutral zone?" That's a question. Being like, "Hey, you guys turned the puck over 6 times in the neutral zone in the first period." Not only are you taking way longer to ask the question, you're also just like, you're almost like pouring salt on the wound. You're like, "Hey, you guys have done this, da 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 da. Why is that happening?" Is like not as strong, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but.
Well, I'm not going to name names, but that's what I'm talking about. There's a couple of bench reporters that just ask the most ridiculous questions, but yours are more in context, in my opinion.
He's a tough critic.
Yeah. Well, listen, aren't we all? It's 2023. I have tough critics online too, so I get it. But I appreciate that you respect the questions that I ask. So thank you.
What about the players on the bench? You ever hear them? Do they ever turn around and snicker at the coach when you're out there, like on the bench?
It depends. As a player, it depends on the coach. Depends what they're saying. Paul Maurice is a really funny guy. So I've seen guys snicker at what he said before, but usually, honestly, it's so fast. Like, they go to commercial break, you go out on the bench. Sometimes you got to get by people. Sometimes someone's coming off to like get something worked on, and you're just like trying to get out there in time, and you're kind of like out there. It's like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You do it, and then you're out. I mean, usually I'm hanging out behind like the backup goaltender in the hallway. So a lot of times I see them during the when the game's still going on, like before we go to commercial. But yeah, it's very fast. It happens so quick.
Very cool.
Jackie, before we let you go, I got to get your opinion on the Rangers this year. They've been first in the league most of the year. Last couple of weeks, now they're second to Vegas. They do have 3 games in hand. So do you think they're legitimate cup contenders this year, or do you think they're pretenders? Where are you at with them?
No, I think they're absolutely legit. I think, not to be a walking cliche, but like your record, you are what your record says you are, right? Like there's a reason that we say that. And I think, this season in particular, I've found it very interesting just watching the league, because I feel like there's a lot of parity, which I am normally like the person that's like, I want parity. I want competitive hockey. I want teams to be able to fight for a playoff spot till the end of the year. Like I don't want these huge gaps between the playoff teams and the non-playoff teams. But this year, I really feel like there's really only a handful of teams that we can say are actually top tier and sort of a level above the rest, if you will. I think there's maybe 5 teams where I'm maybe 6, depending on who you want to argue for, where you're like, those are the top dog teams. It's obvious. It's very clear. They're consistent. They're very good. When you watch them, like, oh, this is like a contending team right here. And then under those 5, maybe 6 teams, depending on who you ask, I feel like there's a lot of like mediocre good teams. Like they're good. They're going to make the playoffs, but they're just there. They're just kind of good. Do you know what I mean by that? It's there's good and there's great. I think there's like a lot of mediocre teams. And I think we see a lot of that actually in the East as well. Teams that maybe we thought would be better, but really they've got a lot of holes in their lineup. And so I think the fact that the Rangers have been able to put up the record that they've put up, it's not early anymore. It's not late, but it's definitely not early. We've got a good, chunk of games. We're like a quarter of the way through the season. And they have, they have a goalie that can be the best goalie in the world at certain times in his career. So to me, I think that they are legit. And I think that anybody that takes them lightly or thinks that maybe they've caught lightning in a bottle because of certain players that are performing as well as they are, I think are doing the Rangers a disservice. And I'm not saying that because I'm on a Rangers podcast right now. Like I legit am like, man, like the Rangers are good and the Leafs are like meh, even though they have a lot of injuries, the Leafs, to be fair to them, in important positions.
We had a few. We had a few injuries.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? Good teams, they figure out a way. But I think the Rangers are, unfortunately, I think the Rangers are good.
Oh, man.
Unfortunately.
You have to sneak that one in.
I'm just joking. It's so funny. I feel like I have a bit of a soft spot in my heart for the Rangers because I would say the Devils and the Rangers, not so much the Islanders, because like they had some good times early in my time living in Jersey. But I feel like I've spent so much time at the Garden that I almost am just like, kind of like feels like too comfortable for me there. I'm like, I can't be this comfortable in this building. It's not good.
Okay, we'll send you some merch to sway you a little bit
I've been to more Rangers games in the last 2-3 years than Leafs games by a lot. By a lot. So.
Well, I feel like the Leafs and Rangers are similar, right? They're original 6 teams. They lack a championship pedigree, big cities. So I don't hate the Leafs. I hope you don't hate the Rangers. I mean, it sounds like you're anti-Rangers.
I don't hate anybody, but I do like to stir the pot a little bit. And it kind of just pisses me off a little that like the Leafs are supposed to be this cup contender. They're supposed to be a team that's like contending for a cup for like 6 friggin' years now. And overnight, seemingly, the Rangers just leapfrog them and are better. And I'm just like, this is bullshit.
Much different style of play, Jackie. A much different style of play.
There's a lot of differences. I'll just leave it at that. There's a few that I could point out where the Rangers have a much, much, much better best player at certain positions. I'm sure everyone can figure that out.
That's fair. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We've probably taken up too much of your time already.
That's okay. Really... I honestly was really happy to come on because I feel like I told you guys I would come on this show like 2 years ago and it never happened. And so really? I feel like I owe you one. So I actually apologize if I was ranting and rambling for too long.
Well, like most other people in the hockey world, it's very gracious of you to remember that kind of stuff and not be so
higher than everybody. But give some love to EJ because I was giving him a little flack about the wardrobe situation of the guys on NHL now.
Listen,
I'm like, is Jackie showing you guys how to dress? What's going on? Because she must be going crazy the way.
Listen, I kept telling them, are you guys gonna like force me to bring my fashion sense down a notch? Because I feel like you're not keeping up here.
They were not, Jackie. They were not.
Right? I mean, listen, we just call a spade, but it was cool. But it was cool when they to see like when they said to us, okay, you guys can be more casual. Like for girls, for women,
that's hard.
It's a little easier actually. Because like we can wear like a skirt and a t-shirt and like still look professional, or like
that's true.
You know what I mean? Whereas for guys, it's like these guys have been wearing full suits for years. And now it's like, hey, be casual. And they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And EJ's like, I'm just a hockey dad. I don't know like what to wear. It's like, each go to Lululemon, you'll be fine.
I know my daughter and my kids, my nephew and my son here would be giving me a lot of flack if they saw me, not dressing the right way or whatever.
Yeah, listen, tough spot.
That's funny.
He's picked it up a notch though. Now he's been a little bit more in the nicer suit, so I'll let him know when I see him.
Well, he saw us in Toronto.
I hope you guys are still watching him on the 6. He's killing it.
I always do. Yeah, I love EJ.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah. He's awesome. He saw us in Toronto at the Lundqvist induction, and he's like, "You guys look so sharp. We got to get a picture." So I love. He's great. I mean,
he's the best. I'd fight for that guy. He's the best.
So would we. Well, Jackie, we won't keep you any longer. Thank you so much. And like I said, don't worry about the delay, or we were very patient, and we're just very gracious to have you. So yeah, you're welcome back anytime, and we'll be in touch on Instagram in the comments.
Yes, please. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I'll come back anytime, especially if the Rangers and the Leafs happen to meet somewhere down the road.
All right.
In a do or die type situation. Okay.
Keep killing it. Bye.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable, man. She's so talented. I mean, she's at her family function. She's able to step away and just do a quick, well, not really quick interview. We tried to keep it brief, but yeah, she was just awesome. So generous with her time.
So friendly too. And, just, I'm noticing a pattern with our guests that, we really are trying to make them feel like they, they can talk and go, and she just really seemed to enjoy herself. So I'm happy about that. That means that you were doing a good job too, but she's just got such an interesting career and she does such a good job. So Jackie, thank you so much for coming on. You could talk for 2 hours and we'd publish it. So don't feel,
Yeah, very gracious. Like I said to her, like all these guests we have, EJ, Joe Tollison, Schremper, they're all like genuine people, and they're open about what they're doing. And to me, that's the hockey world in general. As growing up, I just think hockey players and media and coaches, they're all like, I don't know, I call them like real people. They're not like a show. They're not putting on a show where they think they're above everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
No, yeah. For her to remember us and to actually hold to her word and get back to me, it's just very great.
Stirring the pot with the Rangers there, though, I noticed.
Yeah.
All right, Jackie.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see down the line with the Leafs, and hopefully we'll have you back on. So once again, thank you so much, Jackie. You're the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Have a good night.
All right, let's move on. Let's get into the broadcast banter.
It's a power play goal.
All right, little Ed, start us off.
I'll start us off with the Ottawa game, since we were just talking about the poor defensive play. It was towards the end of the game when things were really out of hand already, and it was pretty much over for the Rangers. Joe goes, Sam, what happened to the defensive game that we were talking about before this one started? I don't know, Joe. I think someone forgot it at home. There are a lot of chances, and these are good chances.
No, the one from yesterday though with Brodzinski. I thought you were gonna go there.
Well, I thought we would end on that one. That was more like a group highlight one.
So did you guys catch? There's a guy on the Kings named Alex Laferriere. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
And did you catch Sam say that he wasn't related to Alexi Lafreniere? He had to say that one. I love it. I love it.
He's something.
So, Coach, the Brodzinski one, you remember it?
I didn't have sound on the plane.
All right, so Brodzinski's on the power plays. Zibanejad's in with a 10-minute misconduct. So they put Brodzinski out there, and Joe goes, remember, Brodzinski can really shoot the puck, right? And then he scores. And then Sam goes, I thought I heard someone say to watch out for Brodzinski on this power play. And then Joe goes, yeah, you know, it's not really great analyzing, Sam. It's just something that's known about him. He can really shoot it. And then Sam goes, no, that's really knowing your players. And I was just like, he's trying to give Joe a compliment, and Joe's like being self-deprecating.
Humble.
Yeah, he's being humble. But Joe called that goal. He pretty much called it.
Yeah, but he always says Brodzinski could shoot the puck. He comes from a family of puck shooters. You remember?
That's fine.
His brother, right? His brother played.
He just said last year he comes from a family of puck shooters or something.
Something like that. Yeah. And it was just perfect that he said, remember, he could really shoot the puck. I was dying.
I love the way he got into the open spot one time. That we've been trying to get our kids to do that.
Such a smart little play, man.
Oh my God,
what a smart play! And Trocheck knew it was coming too. You know, it's for a guy who hasn't played a lick of power play time with that unit to find that open ice, and then also for Trocheck to anticipate that. You know, all I could think was, why does Zibanejad do that more? He just stands there with his stick in there, like, God.
Yeah.
Man. Hopefully,
our other coach texted. I texted my dad and our other coach for Stony Brook, and he was like, "Yeah, we got to show Richardson to do that or whatever. He plays that spot on the power play." And I was like, "Forget Richardson. We need to show Mika how to do that."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So did you see Brodzinski got interviewed after the game and said he owes Mika a steak dinner for taking the penalty?
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
What was it for?
That's what I was going to
chirping the ref that the misconducts are getting out of hand, but a little banter inside Little Ed's living room. As soon as they called the power play or the penalty, I was like, "Oh, who's going to take Zippy's spot? He's in the box." To Lindsay, and she's like, "I don't know, whatever, blah blah." And Brodzinski's on the screen. I was like, "Brodzinski, they're going with Brodzinski." I love Brodzinski. Don't get me wrong, but like, I just wasn't expecting to see him. I know. I just wasn't expecting to see him in that spot. And then, like, a little bit later, he scores the goal. It was amazing.
You must have been dying.
Wish we had that one on film in the living room. That was great.
Yeah, but the misconduct on Zibanejad. Then they called one on Fiala. I have no idea why. What did they say to the refs? Like, what are you calling? Like, wake up or something? And they give him a misconduct? Like, they got to calm down.
I mean, Zibanejad's a very mild-mannered person. He doesn't seem to let a lot get him emotional. And so for him to get in a misconduct, I can't imagine what he said. And
I mean, Joe's right.
Constantly arguing with the linesman. He's constantly arguing with the linesman.
Yeah, the refereeing. What game was that? The Toronto game? Didn't they give out like 160 minutes worth of penalties or something ridiculous?
The refs are getting out of control, and honestly, they're doing it in two ways. They're needlessly calling misconducts, and then they're also not calling major penalties on really bad plays, and it's leading to a lot of issues around the league. I mean, it's not just
which
the Rangers.
Leads to the misconducts.
Did you guys see the Nick Cousins hit against Goodbranson? Coach, did you see it? It reminded me, honestly, it reminded me of Trouba possibly. So Nick Cousins is forechecking and hits Goodbranson from behind, knocks him down on Florida versus Columbus. They call a major penalty. They then review it and reduce it to a minor penalty. And then Goodbranson says, like, I'm going to get you. It's pretty obvious that he says that. And then he just, like, jumps Cousins and beats him up, and now Goodbranson has a hearing. And, you know, they were talking about it I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about this and they were like, well, what's he supposed to do? Like you either called it a major, you reduced it to a minor. He handled it himself. He got an instigator too. Didn't that happen to the Rangers? Somebody fought in response to, like, I thought an instigator was like, let's say like Trouba hits, Crosby, and then, Brian Rust like challenges Trouba and starts a fight. That's an instigator. But if Crosby got up and challenged Trouba, why would Crosby get an instigator penalty?
So they
always trying to get rid of fighting altogether.
No, the instigator penalty was always the guy who dropped the gloves first. I think that came from the Dave Schultz Flyers era because he would literally just jump guys, and it was getting out of hand. I'm going to say
okay if you jump them, but if Crosby, let's say Trouba hits Crosby, and then Crosby gets up and says, "Hey, you want to fight?" And Trouba's like, "Yeah, fine." Boom, drops his gloves, and Crosby and Trouba and they fight. Does Crosby get an instigator penalty?
It's the same thing as someone else jumping in and fighting him. He's still
he's defending himself, and Trouba's
still
accepting.
instigating the fight. It's the same thing, only he's the one who got hit.
But there's not an instigator with every fight. Every fight doesn't result in a power play.
Well, sometimes there are mutual. It's because there's a cause and effect. The hit is the cause, and the effect is instigating the fight. If it's Reeves going at somebody, it's another gray area in the NHL.
It's a stupid call if the guy's doing it himself, right? If you hit me and I say, "Hey, you want to fight?" That was dirty, and you say, "Sure," it shouldn't be an instigator. But whatever. I think that's the example of the refs going overboard. So these misconducts though are crazy. Sorry, we got off topic, but
to put a bow in the banter and to move on. I think Joe said, or it might have been Sam, one of them. They were saying like, for them to call the misconduct on Zibanejad and then Fiala, right?
Yeah.
I think it was Fiala. You're taking the two of the best players on either team in a marquee matchup, the two best teams in each division or each conference, and you're taking their two best players off the ice for the last 10 minutes of the game.
In a 2-1 game.
In a 2-1 game. So how bad could they have chirped you as the ref, or you just be like, all right, I'm taking them off. So the league has to step in there. It's almost like a marketing thing where it's like, you can't do that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like I would hope the referee.
I would hope the refereeing committee. I would hope the refereeing committee looks into it a little bit. They do evaluate the games.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they probably just cost themselves a playoff matchup, those refs. But anyway, let's move into our stars of the week. Is that a new little overlay you got there, or has that always been there? I thought it was different.
No, it's the same.
I guess I never looked at it. All right. Offensive player of the week. Let's go. Little Ed, we'll start with you.
I'll start.
Offensive.
Yeah, I'm dethroning the bread man, even though, he did okay offensively this stretch. And I'm going to go with Trocheck. He's been the most. What?
No.
I think he's been the most consistent offensive player we got right now, and he deserves it this week.
Yeah, Troche was good, Coach. Who you got?
Cuz is going to be pissed off. He's going to think we're collaborating, but I was nowhere near him. But I just looked at the screen. I went with Troche. 3 assists in the Kings game. To me, that was a big comeback after the 2 losses. Couldn't give it to Brett, even though we got a few points. No one else really. Obviously, they got shut out.
See, the thing is, you guys watch the games together, so you influence each other.
Well, we did
it. Don't.
But I went with the
bread
man.
Watch one a week. After that,
I went with the bread man. Offensively, I just like what he's doing, driving the net. He drew a big penalty on a play. He's doing little things on the forecheck too that are not just points. I think he's our best offensive player. I do think Trocheck was right there for me, so I can understand picking him. He's really doing a lot, and 3 primary assists.
I know you got to stick with the, how do you give Panarin the offensive player of the week? They got shut out. They got shut out. He got 1 point against the Kings, and what did he do against Ottawa?
2 points.
He got a goal and an assist. He did better than Trocheck in those 3 games, you think?
Trocheck had 3 assists. They had the same amount of points.
Yeah. All right. And he was a minus.
Trocheck was also a minus.
All right.
Defensive player of the week.
Trocheck was -3. See, Coach likes to call me out and then while I'm responding, tell me to move on before I can actually respond to him. Defensive player of the week. I'll start. I went with Trouba. Big hit by Trouba. He's carrying the corpse of Keandre Miller around. The dead weight right now that Miller is. So I went with Trouba. Little Ed, Jonathan Quick. I like it. Good move.
Quickie. I dethroned Trouba. I mean, although, like you said, he's carrying Miller, he's still playing really well. I think the entire team didn't play well defensively, so I don't think anyone deserved it. That was a beautiful hit by Trouba, though. Textbook.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just picked Trouba. Honestly, I think he's been the steadiest D even through those 2 games, and Laviolette even said that he felt Trouba, played well in those games, even though the team didn't defensively. He's been consistent. Coach, who'd you take?
Yeah, that was a good interview too.
I'm going with Trouba also. I mean, I gave Quick the #1 goaling nod, so he didn't get an award on my board this week.
All right, Coach. I hope you filled in the rest of your board. So you can't wait until we go. But who do you have as your key contributor?
My key contributor, I'm going with VC. I think all year he's got 6 goals. I just think that no matter what the situation is, he's hard on I just think he plays good all around. For his skill level, he's doing a good job. I think he's right there.
Coach, in a 4th line role, VC's on pace for 21 goals this year. That's
yeah. I mean, even if he gets 15, I mean,
perfect.
The penalty kill yesterday was really good. He's part of that. The whole team struggled against Ottawa, and Washington, obviously. So I just like the way he plays, VC. Just his whole attitude, rejuvenating his career, taking what he can get, and moving forward. Coachability.
I like VC a lot too. This version of him is fun to watch. Little Ed, who you got?
I went with Brodzinski, even though I said VC is my favorite Ranger right now. Brodzinski is just filling the spot right now. And I tried to bring it up before. Valaket said that getting the captaincy of Hartford kind of put I don't know I forget how he worded it, but he said it was a bad thing for him to get the captaincy at Hartford because he probably could have moved up a lot of times, but it kind of like anchored him down there to be the leader down there. So maybe now he's getting his opportunity and he's not letting it pass by.
Love it.
I think he said it weighed him down. The captaincy weighed him down a little bit. I forget how he worded it.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a good soldier. I went with Trocheck on this one. To me, he's like the highest version of the typical like key contributor. Like literally does everything, so he fits the mold of a key contributor, but he's also like super skilled for that role. Like VC's more of a typical key contributor guy, but Trocheck's like a Superman key contributor. Literally does everything. I really love his game this year. He's been awesome.
How about when he had the glove in the guy's face and he's just rubbing it?
That was so funny. That was so funny, man.
He's talking to the ref and he's just doing an ace of teak in it.
I know, that was so good. Dude, he literally does everything. Face-offs, forecheck, passing, scoring. He's doing everything. Defense, penalty kill, power play. There's nothing the guy doesn't do on the ice. And he's above average in all of it. Like, he's not excellent really at any of them, but he's above average at all aspects of the game. So, anyway. All right. Highlight play of the week. There's a couple choices here. I think we might differ a little. Little Ed, who you got? You're revealing your whole board every time you pick, so I already know. But
I'm going with the Brodzinski goal last night against LA. It was beautiful.
Johnny Brodzinski,
the power play goal.
First career power play.
You don't see a lot of power play goals like that in the entire NHL. That was an awesome play.
Yeah, I was gonna take that, but I went off the board a little. I took that big hit by Trouba in front, man. That it was at nice. At the time it was 2-0. Keandre turns the puck over, he gets back, he makes a good little play on the puck to recover, but it's still a scoring chance. And then Trouba just lays that guy out. Who was it? Dubois, I think, or Deneau? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Just laid him out. Beautiful hit, stick on puck, foul through the body. Perfect hit. And I made me jump out of my seat. So That's what Trouba can do. All right.
Yep.
Coach Ed's Copyright Doghouse Award, sponsored by Sooner Sweet Treats, as I was saying.
I cut you off there, my bad.
Yeah, I want to say to thank you to Meg and Michelle for sending me a little care package with a couple ornaments in them. I left them downstairs like an idiot, but there were some really nice Rangers ornaments in there, and even sent something for my wife. She sent a little dog ornament, which I thought was really nice. She addressed it to her. So thank you so much for that. You guys got to check out their website and order some cookies. I know I'm going to for the holiday season.
Yeah, shout out to Tennessee Meg. We got a care package too, Coach. So I have probably some ornaments for you, Kathy. Lindsay got one. Mike, EA the PA as well. So she's turning her cookies into ornaments now, which is really cool. Very creative. But on a more serious note, shout out to her and her sister. They survived the tornado down in Tennessee.
Oh, that's right.
A lot of surrounding properties at their bakery got completely wiped out, and thankfully theirs stayed intact, and they are still able to make cookies for us. So Meg and Michelle, we're thinking about you, and we're very happy that you guys are both safe down there.
Yeah, for real.
Those are some pretty devastating pictures. One of those things like we experienced with Hurricane Sandy, you see things on TV, but you don't realize how the devastation can affect people until you live it. And that's got to be just imagining what that could be like after seeing Sandy, dealing with something like that. That's insane.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's really sad.
Shout out to everybody down in Tennessee.
Yeah. All right. Well, Coach Ed, it's your doghouse. We'll start with you. Last week, you had Keandre Miller and the people who designed the third jersey in the doghouse. Now that you've seen the third jersey, are they out of the doghouse?
I'm going to say, I'm not saying I will buy one. I'm not a big fan of theirs. But in uniform with the red pants, not horrible.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to say that I really like them, but they look pretty good.
The logo's too big on the jersey or something. There's something
it is. It's out of proportion. But with the uniform total, it wasn't
looks
horrible.
Better. Yeah, and the numbers.
I don't like the numbers.
The numbers are just like they look like practice jerseys, kind of. Right?
Just
like,
it does a disservice. It just does the disservice to like the traditional like Rangers numbers. Like I feel like those are iconic, and they shouldn't have changed that. They could have kept them all white or whatever, but still kept like the like that border, whatever you want to call it, the shadow.
Yeah, give it a red border or something.
Anyway, they're at the jerseys. I'm going to take out of the doghouse because they look pretty good playing, and they did play good in them. So we'll pull them out. I'll take Keandre out because I can't blame him for those two losses. And your boy's going.
Keandre's out.
Keandre's out.
Shesterkin going in the box or the doghouse.
That's a nice.
Everyone
card.
head on over to YouTube. Check out Coach Ed's doghouse with Igor Shesterkin card safely out of the rainy weather here in New York.
So Shesterkin's alone in the doghouse.
Ed's doghouse, copyrighted by Coach Ed's Doghouse Incorporated. Not to be used without permission. Not to be used without permission from RangersEd.com.
That's so funny. Little Ed, last week you had Keandre Miller in the doghouse. Is he out?
Nope. Keeping him in, and I'm adding Shesty in there too. I mean, I don't want to keep ragging on Miller, but he's not playing very well defensively. Trouba's got to stop carrying him, and looks like Cousin Ed did the same.
I did the same.
Miller in after to make it, I'll throw Miller in with Shesty and make it a hat trick.
Yeah, so he's staying in.
Miller in.
No, I just think that in the previous episode, you guys really harped on Miller's game defensively. He scored a couple goals, and I said it probably masked it. And I told you guys I was going to take a closer look at his game after the criticism you levied, and I got to agree with you. I mean, he's just he's making some really bad plays at the blue line in the offensive zone. That's number one. That's like really bad decisions. Terrible. Turns it over, odd man rush 2 or 3 times a game.
It's shin guards. Yeah, bad shots, bad passes.
And then defensively, he's getting a little bit manhandled. Like he doesn't appear like strong on his skates. I mean, I get it. He's not an overly physical player, and you can't really, force a guy to be that when they're not. But he's big enough that he should be able to use his body in a positive way in the defensive zone. I don't think he is. And then, Coach, what you said behind the net, you're right. He's terrible. Like I watched it closely, and I just don't see it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's a mental thing with him, if he's like one of these enigmatic guys, because he looks great at times, and other times he just looks terrible. And right now he's in a funk.
He's got a new supermodel girlfriend.
Yeah, but come on, should make him play better.
I don't know. We'll see.
Right. And then Shesterkin. Yeah, we talked about this ad nauseum earlier. I mean, he's got to be better. I don't know what he needs to get his game better. I will say that after the quick win against LA, they showed the handshake line, and Shesterkin looks super happy for Quick, which to me means that he's part of a tandem, and he's happy with that tandem, and Quick and him have a good thing going for him to be happy for him like that. So we'll see. We'll see if he can.
One thing I'll say about that is Quick was getting that game no matter what. Let's see how Shesterkin reacts to a game that he wasn't supposed to get.
Yeah, I think Quick's got to start Tuesday.
We'll see how Shesterkin's attitude is on the bench on Tuesday if that's the case.
Yeah,
I would be very surprised if he had a bad attitude. That's what I was saying. I think he's got the right attitude. I think he'll work harder to come back to where he needs to be. That's my opinion.
Yeah. All right. So across the board, Shesterkin and Miller. So look, for the players out there, Shesterkin and Miller want to pick it up. We got one episode left before our little holiday break, and they're going to be stuck in the doghouse over the holidays. So I don't know. Let's see what they could do. But anyway. All right, boys. Good episode. Looking forward to a little bit of content here. So we got we're going to do a little holiday exchange, a little giveaway, not to the fans, but to the players.
We do a little gift exchange, right? The Secret Santa.
Little Secret Santa. Yeah, we're going to do a Secret Santa. I don't know how exactly we're going to do it, but we're going to give some players something
that they need
for the rest of the year. And so we're going to do that. We're going to also record a memorabilia corner. So look out for that. The new segment we've teased forever. We're going to do it before the holiday break. And we'll drop that
inside the Ranger room.
Right. Inside the Ranger room is going to be called. That's right. So we're going to drop that on YouTube, a little YouTube series. We're going to start. It's not going to be an every week thing, but check that out. It's going to be video only. So you're going to have to actually go to the Rangers Ed YouTube page to check that out. Look on social media for when that drops for that announcement. And we got some good guests lined up, and we'll see you guys one more time before Christmas. So, or whatever holiday you celebrate, I hope everybody's enjoying December. It's a good time of year. Thank you to everybody.
Hanukkah is underway, so happy Hanukkah to all of our Jewish members or Jewish listeners out there. Yeah, first night of Hanukkah was Friday, I believe. So happy Hanukkah to all you out there, and thank you for listening during the holiday season.
Yeah, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa. I don't know any other of the holidays, but whatever you celebrate, I just hope
it's the holiday gift exchange, not Secret Santa. So my apologies for saying that. The holiday gift exchange.
Yeah, so I hope everyone's just enjoying themselves. And thank you to all our partners and fans out there for listening, and we'll be back.
Coach?
Happy holidays, fellas, to everybody, all our fans. Good luck to Meg and the people in Tennessee. And let's keep it going.
Absolutely. Love you guys. Let's go Rangers.
Love you guys. Good luck tonight.